we were talking about how you just never know who's looking at your content. And Dave was like one of the earliest people to ever make content. Like Dave Tate was making training logs before anyone was doing training logs. Like he was posting his training logs on the Elite FTS websites and in these forums back in the day, like when no one was doing that. This is like the late 90s, early 2000s, where he's like posting his workouts. And the only reason that he would make YouTube videos is not because he looked at YouTube as a platform for its own content, but because he could then embed those videos into his website articles, into his training logs. It was not trying to grow YouTube. It was like that was just a place to store his videos. And he was telling an amazing story about how basically you just never know who's reading your content or who's looking at it. And one of his first ever quote unquote online coaching client, which actually this is really funny because you and I laugh. We saw someone recently say like they were one of the first people to be an online coach in 2014, and which is just hilarious because he's in the 90s and he was doing online coaching. But he said that in this online coaching, he didn't do anything. He would just get on the phone with this guy once a week. And like, it wasn't a video call. He wasn't even sending him an email with programs. You just get on the phone with him and tell him what to do on the phone.
That's awesome.
And that was his like online coaching. And that he didn't know anything about this guy. He didn't know anything about in terms of like his, like how wealthy he was or any of that. Just like he was a cool guy. And this is Dave's first ever online coaching client who he got from posting his training logs on the Elite FTS forums. And, this guy, he lived in Boston, and one day he asked Dave if Dave would do a seminar for him, and Dave was like, yeah, usually I get this amount plus like X amount per head. Like here's flat rate plus X amount per head of people that come. And the guy was like, nah, I don't want to do that. How about you just tell me a flat rate? And Dave was like, okay, like $5,000, whatever it is. And the guy's like, okay, awesome, done. So flies Dave out to Boston. Dave goes there, and then they drive him to a huge office building, a massive skyscraper office building. And Dave was like, what are we doing here? And this guy's like, this is my building. And Dave was like, oh, you work here? He's like, no, I own the building. And then they go up to the top floor of the penthouse suite. And it's this guy who is the CEO of the company and owns the building, and apparently owns multiple buildings, and 4 other people. That was just like, and a couple of his like CFO and a couple other people. And that was it. That was who he was giving this seminar for. And so Dave was like, holy shit, what is going on here? He did this whole seminar, and basically it was an amazing client, a really nice guy, all of that. And Dave was like, you just never know who you're talking to, which is like going back to online training. You never know what piece of content is going to go nuts and going to get you an amazing client or a number of clients. You never know who's seeing your content, who's looking at your stuff. And I've heard a story like this. I've experienced a story like this. I see this all the time. The thing that most people, especially coaches, don't realize is I think most coaches think that they need to come up with the perfect piece of content, when the reality is you just need to come up with content over and over and over and over and over again. And oftentimes it's that process of coming up with content, the vast majority of which is probably shitty, that will lead you to write or create one piece of content that actually hits the right person at the right time in the right place, that reaches out, that will change your life forever. I thought it was a really good story.
That is a great story.